Hello everyone and welcome to another News Coolum video. I'm about to hit the road and head down to the LA Auto Show. I finally charged this battery up to full. I've already done a shakedown cruise on this battery, and so I'm pretty confident in taking it all the way down to LA for the LA Auto Show. So this is going to be about a 1,500 mile round trip probably by the time all the driving is done. I'm getting out a little bit late and I'm hoping to get to my first stop by about 4 p.m., hopefully dodge Bay Area traffic, and it is a little bit windy, but it doesn't look like it's a major headwind. Might be a crosswind, but we'll see. So, this is going to be an interesting maiden voyage. I'm charging it all the way up to full, and I think I'm going to try to do an initial degradation test when I get to my first stop, basically in South San Jose. So, yeah, let's get ready to head out because I'm burning daylight. Well, we arrived here in San Jose, South San Jose, pulled into the EVgo charger with 14% battery, plugged in, auto charge worked right away. So auto charge worked, I should say, but the charger takes a while to activate. This is one of my big issues with EVgo right now. Is even as great as auto charge is, with these heavier Huber plus Sooner cables in particular, I still have to prop them up for my Bolt EV during that activation process. And so you really feel that 30 seconds to a minute that it takes for these EVgo chargers to either recognize auto charge, or if auto charge is recognized, to actually boot up, cycle up, and then start dispensing power. Yeah, I think there's definitely some opportunities for EVgo here to maybe speed up that boot up cycle. So, like I said, that's a little bit annoying. And then on top of it, the fact that this site, it's a great site, fairly well located for my trip. It's not well located as a travel site. It took me more than 5 minutes after exiting the freeway to be able to get to this site. And so this is really more of a city support site, which is great if you're in South San Jose, can't charge at home, or whatever, you're running around town doing errands. This is a great site for that. But it's really not ideal for travel. And I am recognizing a decent amount more capacity in the Bolt EV than I had previous, but I'm not sure if it's ready for a capacity test yet. I arrived with 14%, and I had used about, just over, I think, 45, maybe 46 kilowatt hours. At 14% battery, that number should have been way higher, and so I don't think this car is fully recognizing the capacity that it has available to it yet. So I don't think it's maybe ever really charged to a true 100%. So, I mean, we've already added 10% right now in just 4 minutes. And I don't think that's correct, right? So it's charging at, 52 kilowatts right now. But yeah, I don't think there's any way that we've added over 10% battery now in just a few minutes. So, yeah, there's definitely, I think, some learning that still needs to happen with this BMS. So let's look at the charger for a second. Yeah, so see, it's showing 52 kilowatt. We're 5 minutes in. It's added 4.4 kilowatt hours. So it's already saying we've added, a massive amount. But the way it's adding capacity tells me it doesn't know what's going on. So, I'm going to look at this a little bit closer and then I'll chime in. But like I said, I'm not ready to do a capacity test just yet. All right, so I'm a little bit disappointed in EVgo and actually in Chevy, and I'm not sure exactly what the disconnect was, I guess literally and physically, because I figured since it's clear that it's still relearning the battery capacity, and the Bolt EV doesn't quite know where it is in terms of capacity, I was just going to let this be a long session. Like I said, I've gotten a lot of feedback from people that were saying that they've charged all the way up to 100% and then it just continued charging and continued taking power. And it just takes a while for it to not only learn that now there's not 10% battery degradation, there's also an additional 5+ kilowatt hours of capacity that wasn't there when my battery was first installed, 6 years ago. So there's a lot of learning there, and I was going to take a long meal, so I sat down, I used the bathroom, grabbed some coffee and some food, but somewhere along the line, the charger stopped, and I'm not sure what caused it, but the problem I have with that isn't necessarily that the charger stopped, because I did have to get up from my meal, I had to come out here, and I had to restart the charger. The problem I had is I got no notification. Now, OnStar at home, if the power goes out, which, thank you PG&E, it goes out all the time, I get a notification right away that the charging session has been ended, even if it's still plugged in. Here, I didn't get a notification at all when the charger stopped. When I went out here, the cord was still in, the app says plugged in, I unplugged it, and then I got a notification from Chevy. So that's a real problem. And again, this is also just bad luck, because 9 times out of 10, 19 times out of 20, I just walk away and I've never had an issue like this, right? So, this is sort of unique. It's just inconvenient. And, I probably would have been close to 80% battery at this point, or at least what this car assumes is 80% battery. So at this point, though, I'm not sure that I want to charge much longer, thanks to that little snafu. I think I might just want to get on the road again and jam it to the next charger, and then maybe let that one charge a little bit. And then also on the side, this is sort of a carryover from my previous shakedown cruise that I was doing in the Bolt EV, is I'm testing out the different chargers. This is the updated, newer Signet charger for EVgo, and it works fine. I'll have plenty of chances to test the Delta 100 kilowatt city chargers later, but my next stop for EVgo has the Delta 350 kilowatt charger, which I haven't had a chance to test now with the new batteries. So, I think I'm getting ready to wrap up and head out. I just want to plug in the directions for the next charger and I think head out. like I said, I've been trying to focus a little bit more on EVgo on this trip down. This is King City, where most of the businesses, anyway, are actually right next to the freeway, just off of freeway on-ramps, off-ramps. And when I first started traveling up and down California in my Bolt EV, the only charger here was a 24 kilowatt charge point unit. And it really was sort of a charging desert. You're talking about 100 miles each direction. There was really nothing, right? So, it's kind of a necessary stop. And I've stopped here one of my previous trips. There's a charge point that is much better located for travelers just off the freeway, but that's only those 62.5, or I believe they might be paired, 125 kilowatt. And then there's a free wire charger at the Arco on the other side of the freeway. But that one actually looked like the CCS was down. I wanted to check out this charger anyway. So just to talk about how this trip is going so far, it's actually going a lot easier than I expected. And I think that's largely due to the just overall capacity of the Bolt EV. The biggest issue so far has been the traffic. It took me an hour and a half driving to get from South San Jose to Salinas. So for those of you who know the area, you know how bad that traffic had to be. Multiple accidents, plus a combination of that and rush hour traffic. I don't know if one leads to the other, vice versa. But an hour and a half to go that distance is not really normal. And it added a huge amount of time to this trip. I think we're like 6.5 hours in, and we're barely 300 miles into this trip. So we're going really, really slow. And I say this trip would be easy without that, even counting that sort of snafu at the other EVgo charging station, where I probably lost about 10 to 15 minutes of charging time. Based on arriving here, though, at about 25% battery, I could have left San Jose a lot earlier, right? That wouldn't have been an issue. But here is the issue. This is the first time that auto charge hasn't worked on the charger. And this is the Delta 350 kilowatt split power charger. Now, I've had my auto charge work on that before, so I don't know exactly what that issue was. And then the other thing is, this location, I don't really know what it's supposed to be, right? I think it's a public parking lot. So there are some businesses about a block over. It's almost like this is maybe a good stop if you're visiting downtown King City. So it might actually be a big benefit for local businesses. But at nighttime, this parking lot is really poorly lit. I couldn't even see the port where to plug the cable in. It was that bad. And so I think at the very least, I don't know how much control EVgo has over this, of course, because this is a parking lot in the middle of a residential area. They might actually have limitations on what they can do in terms of lighting. Hopefully not, because I think that's also a safety issue. And then, of course, the other thing about auto charge not working, I don't know if that was just a quirk, but again, this is the same issue that I'm going to sort of hammer home with EVgo. Their activation times right now are atrocious. They might actually be the worst in the industry. And that's saying a lot, because Electrify America's activation times are pretty poor. But we're talking about somewhere between 30 seconds and a minute. I actually gave up when I first plugged in because nothing was happening. The car said initializing, but there was nothing happening on the screen, nothing happening anywhere else that I could see. So I swiped my RFID card and it ended the session. So something tells me maybe EVgo got a signal that the auto charge was attempting to start, and it was just taking that long to activate the charger. But that's a problem. If it's taking that long to activate a charger, you need to increase your or improve your activation times. Don't increase your activation times. they're bad enough as it is. But then the second time I swiped my RFID card first, which, initiated the session, and then I plugged in and everything went fine. At this point, things are going well, and I keep hitting that 50 kilowatt mark when I plug in. So yeah, we're still charging at 50 kilowatt even at 45% battery. So I actually don't know how much longer I'm going to stay here. Part of it is, there's really, like I said, no amenities that I can see on site, nothing really available here. I think maybe spend 20 minutes here. That seems like a good compromise in terms of time spent charging. We made it into San Luis Obispo. Now this is interesting because these are chargers that I think a lot of people would avoid on a road trip, and because they're only the 125 amp, they're the 50 kilowatt chargers. But for the Bolt EV, you can still charge faster than this, right? But the difference between using these and a faster charger is about 10 to 15 minutes if you're charging, say, up to 70 to 80%. So there is a bit of a time penalty, but actually not that much. And then the other reason I stopped here, though, other than the fact that it is EVgo, which allows me to sort of continue bypassing Electrify America along this route, is there are more amenities here, and the things that are here are still open. So we got here around 9 o'clock, and so the grocery store is still open. A lot of the restaurants are still open if you need to go and use the bathroom, grab a snack, whatever. There's a lot more to do here, whereas the outlets, Pismo Beach outlets, where the Electrify America and the superchargers are located, that's already closed. There's nothing's open there. You'd have to walk across the street or a block down or something to go to a gas station or a convenience store. So it just makes more sense to stop someplace like this if you need the amenities. So it costs you a few minutes in terms of it's a little farther off the road. Getting here is a little bit longer, and then the actual charge session takes a little bit longer just because it's lower power. But that being said, I had stuff to do. I needed to use the bathroom, and I also needed to book my room. So I went ahead and did all of that while I was here charging. We've just been charging a little over 30 minutes now, and we're already over 50% battery. So we started around 11%, and we're up to, so we added 50% battery in just under 32 minutes. And as you can see, I'm still pulling 46 kilowatt from the charger, and a couple kilowatt is going to, I think, the battery, because it's not all making it into the battery here. But the other thing is, I'm still not seeing what I like to see in terms of energy. So it's showing 24 kilowatt hours dispensed, which is supposed to be the equivalent of about 40%. So with all of this, even with all of these trips and everything else, this car is still thinking it has 60 kilowatt hours of capacity. And I can tell just from driving it that I have way more than I had before. The problem is I might just be remembering what it was like when I originally had the car, right? Because it had 60 kilowatt hours in 2016 when I bought the car. So this is maybe just a return to what I'm used to. I might not even have fully, restocked this battery yet in terms of charging cycles. So that's interesting. considering how many miles I've driven since the battery has been replaced, if it still thinks it only has 60 kilowatt hours, I have some work cut out for me. So we might actually need one more quick bump up charging stop before we make it all the way in. And so if, we'll just have to sort of play it by ear. Yeah, let's get ready to hit the road. All right, well, that was unfortunate. I wanted to try the 100 kilowatt Delta EVgo charger in Solvang as I crossed over San Marcos Pass, or Santa Ynez. But anyway, the problem is, and this is a problem when you install only one charger at a time or at a location, that all it takes is one person using it. So there was a Bolt EV owner there already. I'm not going to wait around to access a charger that it's just really not necessary. And so I just moved on. Now, it's interestingly, if it were like a Nissan Leaf or something, I might have still stopped there. So those are power splitting chargers, but the problem is there's only one CCS head. So, you pull in, plug in, and if you're a CCS vehicle, that means that a second CCS vehicle can't be charging there. So, that's unfortunate. We are still about 50 miles out from the hotel, but I want to bump up just a little bit of capacity. I don't want to try, milking as much as I can get out of it. I just want to try to check into my room by about midnight. I can always close out later, or maybe grab a late dinner after I check into my room and, just go use a charger while I eat. Like I said, that was a new charger in Solvang. I couldn't use it. There are other chargers in Solvang, but I kind of wanted to stick to EVgo for this trip. Auto charges worked perfectly on both of the ABB Terra 5.3 units that I've used. So, yeah, I'm thinking things are going pretty well. And I'm probably only going to charge here for maybe 10 to 15 minutes total. Like I said, just enough to give me a little bit extra capacity so I can drive into the hotel and, check in and then not have to worry about it. I checked in. We're all good. Now, I probably have one other thing I'm going to do tonight where I need to leave out first thing in the morning for the LA Auto Show. This motel doesn't really have electric car charging on site. I might want to just run over to the Electrify America chargers and I'll sit down and eat, but just run it through a quick 10 to 80% charge and see how that goes. So that'll probably just be a different video anyway. But yeah, so 500 miles, probably something to do with the discrepancy with the tires, probably like 502 miles or something probably actually driven. It did take 12 hours though, and but I would say well over an hour of that was due to traffic, probably closer to about an hour and a half. So realistically about 10 and a half hours to make this trip, if you're just looking at driving time and charging time. And again, I was using some of the 50 kilowatt chargers. It wasn't a super efficient or planned out trip, but 10 to 10 and a half hours is pretty much what you can expect for this trip up and down Highway 101, going about 500 miles in the Bolt EV. Obviously, some newer EVs can do it faster, but I found that this to be a pretty relaxing trip, like I said, other than the traffic that we ran into in the Bay Area, and the accidents and things like that. And there is still a lot of road construction, but it's pretty clear based on this trip so far that the Bolt EV hasn't fully learned its new capacity yet. So I hope you enjoyed it. Hope it was informative. Let me know what you think. And like I said, I'm probably going to split these trips into chunks rather than try to do one big 1,500 mile journey as a video. So if you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. And thank you for watching.